Rod, that is the kind of highlight reel where I like everything about you, but I feel awfully bad for anybody else who pops up on that highlight. If anybody was going against you, it was a bad day.
I played blue collar football. That's that Midwest football that we got to play in the streets. We played tackle football in the wintertime. So it makes you a little tougher when you start playing football like that at 9 years old.
Well, it's an honor to have you on the show, Rod Woodson, Hall of Famer, the best DB of all time. We're just going to go ahead and say that a Super Bowl champion, of course, Defensive Player of the Year. You mentioned being 9 years old, playing football, blue collar football. We saw that you were recently down in Mexico coaching some kids with the Hope Through Football Camp. Is that what you're teaching, blue collar football? What are you learning about yourself through that process? That must be incredible.
Yeah, I've been doing camps for 35 years, and normally I do them back in my hometown, but I started doing them internationally. I've done some down in Mexico. I've done some in Ireland. I've done some in France. But we're just taking, listen, everything that's happened in my lifetime and happened to me has happened through football in some form or fashion. And I want to give back to what was given to me. And, so many different countries play American football. They just don't know it like we know it and eat it like we eat it. And I just want to give that some of those nuggets that's been given to me from Chuck Noll and Tony Dungy and Rod Rust and Dick LeBeau and Dom Capers and Bill Cowher. Those are all great coaches who I played under. And given that knowledge and those nuggets they gave me over the course of time back to these young players who maybe have dreams of playing in the National Football League, and hopefully one day it'll come to fruition.
How do you teach with your words the art of the pick six? Teach a 6-year-old Kay who wants to learn that.
I would tell them football's not overly complicated. This is what was told to me in 1989 when Rod Rust first got to Pittsburgh. He said, football's not overly complicated. Offenses get into 5 formations, and they'll get in different personnel groupings. And all you have to do, and at the end of the result, when they get to a certain formation, they're only going to run 4 to 5 to 6 plays out of that. You just have to believe it when you see it and don't hesitate. And once I started believing it, and you get those opportunities to get those interceptions, especially if you don't get to play offense, because most really good athletes play both ways in high school and some do in college, as we see now, right, with Travis Hunter.
Yeah.
But when you get into the league, you normally don't. So the only way that you get the ball is by being a kick returner or getting pick sixes. And I think the art of pick six is like this: don't be scared, don't hesitate, get the interception. And once you get the interception, every time you try to get it, you're trying to score.
I appreciate everything you're saying. You're making it sound like it's easy, like making a cake and using milk and 2 eggs. If it's so easy and it's just that, be confident, don't be scared. Why doesn't anybody ever beat your record, Rod?
Well, that is a good question because they do throw the ball more now, right? So there should be more interceptions. There should be more pick sixes. I'm trying to figure out who's the lead active leader in pick six.
Let's take a look. Let's take a look here.
Need to know.
Well, this is, so everyone understands, you still own the NFL record with 12. I want you to know, 12 pick sixes in your career, no active player is even halfway there.
They're not even halfway there yet?
No.
I think Charles Woodson, since he's my cousin, we're the closest to. I think Charles had 11. I think he had 11. Something like
I'll
that.
have my control room have to look that up. I don't know. Sorry?
But why there's not more?
I can never hear. Sorry, Rod. I can never hear. It's like mumbling. Can I hear? He has 11. Yes, he has 11.
He has 11. That's right. So that's what I thought. So it's 2 Woodsons that are 1 and 2. And I would think it's going to stay that way for quite a long time. But I think there's some really good athletes out there in the league right now that, especially playing the cornerback position, that have opportunities to make some plays. They just got to be willing to put their foot in the ground and go get it.
Are you willing to say, are you willing to bet your record's never going to be broken with what I just showed you?
No, I'm not going to say that.
On.
I think the one record that would never be broken is Night Train Lane's record, 14 picks in 1 year. That's a lot of picks, man. That's a lot
crazy.
Of picks in 1 year. I had 8 picks 1 year after 7 games, and I thought I was going to break it, and I got 1 pick the rest of the year.
Yeah, Night Train. Let's see. Deron Bland. Here's the notes that my producers are giving me. 2023 single season record. Deron Bland. That was his rookie year. Yeah, for Night Train, which you just said. I don't really know what that point of that was, but there. I'm learning a history lesson with you today, Rod. Your last pick six, the last of the million that you had. You were 37 years old. Okay. It was a 98-yard return. Everyone called it the mile high run, right? This was back in 2002. Can you relive this for me?
Yeah, we started out having a really good year for the Raiders. I think we started 0-4, and then we lost 4 in a row. So we were kind of like in a conundrum. We needed something to happen. We were losing in that game. I remember Greasy. I think Greasy was a quarterback. I remember him dropping out of the pocket, him trying to look me off, and then I was acting like I was going to go outside, and I jumped back in, and he just kind of threw it right to me. And it was my job to outside out. It was my job to foot touched me, but I mean once listen, when you run that far and you're a mile above sea level, you can't breathe for about 2 hours.
Yeah.
So I was really hurting after that play, but that was one of those moments in my career that kind of helped our team kind of get back over the hurdle. And we won 7 out of the last 8 games, and we got to the Super Bowl. Obviously, we lost the Super Bowl, but at least it got us the opportunity to be there.
Yeah, we were talking in our morning meeting. We got all the producers, the whole staff, like so excited, looking at highlights on YouTube, all the things, and like that was the play. It was said that that's what sparked the Super Bowl run. That play right there.
Yeah, I mean, it's, for me, you love being a part of it. You love being one of those guys that can hopefully ignite a situation on your team where you take this run. And that was one of those plays in my career, be it almost the second to last year of my career, being 37 on top of that.
Yeah.
But with that all being said, as they said, me and Dick LeBeau, we go back and forth all the time, is that as we get older in football, you get better because now you know everything that you should know. And then the stuff that you wish you would have known when you were in your third year, when you're 15 years removed into the league, it's just so much easier to play because
like
everything
what?
that you've seen it before.
Give me one specific.
Every type of play. They're trying to throw at you. It's not going to surprise you. If the receiver, when I play corner, if a receiver is 3-yard plus 3-yard split, he outside releases, he's going to run 2 routes. He's going to go or stop. That's it. He's not going to run anything else. He can't run anything else. There's some guys try to come back inside, but they're not that good at it, and try to run the dig. So, one thing I've learned over the course of my time frame with the really good coaches that I've had is that they will tell you what you're running. You just have to believe it when you see it. And if you believe it when you see it and you put your foot in the ground and you're not fearful to make contact, I know it's a little bit different today in today's game than it was when I played. But those guys who have that confidence and that belief in who they are, those guys are going to separate themselves from the average players to the great players.
I mean, at that position, it's like the hardest position to have confidence in because you are getting smoked sometimes. You are losing a lot. It's like an impossible gig and that you did it at such a high level. And you keep going back to confidence and almost experience too. Just that in your further years, you're a man who had 17 total freaking touchdowns. It's insane to think about. I'm so curious the role of instinct in all of this because we've got kids in their rookie year making these plays, feeling it out, whatever. Like, what is the role of instinct? Because like Kirby Joseph's one of these guys where Kirby's like, I feel the ball.
Kirby
Dawkins talked to the ball.
Year.
Yeah. Younger player.
And then I think the instinct part of it is this. The great players have filters in their head. And you listen to what your coach is saying. But when you get on the field, you still play the game like you played when you were a kid. So if you go to a Pop Warner game, a Little League game, when the ball goes to the right, all 22 players are to the right. They're all over there. But as we get older, coaches say, I need you to be in the middle of the field. If you're the outside 1/3, if you're the outside rusher, you can't fold, you can't do this, you can't do that, you have to do this. And they tell you all the things that you shouldn't do, and it kind of ingrains in you. and you forget the natural instinct that you're given as a human being and as an athlete. But the really good ones have that filter where they hear the coach and they say, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, coach. But when I step out there, I'm going to go play ball. And the Ed Reeds, the Troy Polomalus, those type of players have those filters where they say, I hear you, coach. I got you. But the really good coaches also, they allow you to be yourself inside of their system as long as you don't go rogue.
Is Ed Reed the best at that, the instinct part?
I think Ed and Troy, I mean, I did a lot of crazy things in my time frame of playing, but Troy and Ed are two of the guys that I've seen in my time frame of playing where I remember Ed Reed intercepted. He was a far side safety. There was doubles on the right side. He let the inside guy go past him, and he intercepted the number one dig coming on the other side of the field. And I'm like, when I saw him, I think in the Super Bowl, I'm like, dude, what in the world did you look at? He was like, he only threw to number one. He said he never threw to the inside guy, so why would I cover him? And that's what's like those, like you find guys like that where you go, oh, that's why you're a Hall of Famer. And you tell the young guys, you don't want to disrespect your coaches, but you don't want to lose that natural instinct God has given you and forget about how to play football.
It's so hard. I would never want to be a DB. I just feel like it's so hard. But then like the glory of it's better than a normal touchdown in every way. Like the highs are so much higher if you get to, if you pull it off, it's so rare. Like the win feels bigger, but gosh, it's so hard. Running backwards while someone's running forward and keeping up with them. No, thank you, Rod. What were you thinking playing that position?
I say it all the time. I think DBs are the best athletes on the field.
Totally.
Because you're running backwards. It's a reactionary position because I don't know where you're going. So I'm going off of where you're at and what you're doing as a receiver. But what I love about it is that, to be athletic and to still be physical, but you're kind of like I remember Willie Gault doing the ballet all the time, right? But it's like a DB being like that. But nowadays you can't touch anybody. So now, when I played, we could hit people, we could touch people. We're a little bit more physical down the field. You can't do that anymore. So I think it takes more skill to play defensive back in today's game because of the rule changes.
You were equally great at safety, which is insane. So like even my producer, Hamilton, I'm sorry, you're going to have to meet Matthew Hamilton. He's my partner. Been my partner here for like 12 years. You're his favorite DB. He's convinced him like you were it. Hamilton, this is impromptu, but like, you can tell Rod how you feel about him and why you think he's the best DB in safety, of course.
Well,
What's up, Rod?
No, go ahead, Hamilton.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think the fact that you played at a Hall of Fame level at both corner and safety and basically had two Hall of Fame careers in one and were the best returner in the league when they put you back there earlier in your career too. I mean, there was nothing you couldn't do. And it was awesome growing up watching you.
Yeah. You know what's fun, and a lot of people don't know, is that I played safety my whole life. So all the way from 9 years old, all the way up to my senior year at Purdue, I played safety, and they moved me to corner. So my senior year, I played corner, receiver, tailback, a little everything at Purdue. And when I ran my 40 at the combine, I ran a 4.30. They were like, yeah, you're going to be a corner. And I'm like, what? No, I'm not a corner. I'm a safety. And they're like, no, you're going to be a corner. But luckily for me, I had Tony Dungy my first 3 years in the league. And Tony loved on me, taught me how to play the game at that position. But when I did finally switch over to safety in year 12, to me, it was like, oh, I'm home. You know how you come from a long day of work and you get on your couch and you're like, shee.
Yeah, that's how you felt?
It felt like that. It felt like, because I didn't have to, it was natural for me to play safety. Where corner, I had to learn how to play on the outside and learn how to play at that position, where safety, I was doing that since I was 9 years old. and I just went out and played football.
I'm
And
sure Hamilton knew that you were a safety. I did not know that. I did not know that. I have a question for you, Rod. Jalen Ramsey. People are suggesting that he's shift to safety. What do you make of that?
I think mindset, he is capable of doing it. I think he does have that physicality. He does like to tackle. I think if he's willing to put his body through those rigors, because listen, when you're coming out in the core and in the boxes, I remember my first couple first 2 years playing safety. I remember my first game. It was a preseason game. I think we were playing. Green Bay, and I blitzed off the edge, and me and Ray hit the same guy at the same time. And Ray's a lot bigger than I am. So
Yeah.
I went flying back this way, and I'm like, so I think if he's willing to take some of that, punishment in the core, because you have to be a willing tackler as a safety. I think he can do it because he tackles as a corner. He has that mindset. It's just, is he willing to be in the core? And I mean, obviously he can cover tight ends and all that stuff. Just being that willing tackler in the core, if you got to fill the B gap, if you got to come out on the edge on the C gap, like you can normally do as a corner, if you're going to, set the edge. So I think he's capable of doing it. Nowadays, I just don't know if guys would want to sustain their careers because they made so much money. Now, I'm not saying that's Ramsey. I'm not saying that's his mindset. I'm just saying, do they want to keep playing even though they have $100 million in the bank?
You have to really want it. It's dirty work.
You really do.
It hurts. I don't know that everybody, that's why you had these Hall of Fame careers. It's because you sat on your couch and you felt like you were home in these insane situations that you put yourself in and were successful. I mean, your first year at safety, first year after 12 years, right? Like it was into your career. You had 7 interceptions and 2 pick sixes in 1999 with the Ravens. It's insane. I want to ask you about the Ravens. I want to ask you about the Steelers. I remember what you said about Aaron Rodgers, about leadership, all of that. He stood in front of the team yesterday, in front of the media scrum as a Steeler, sort of surreal to watch. And he said, and the quote was, "All in. I'm all in from now on." How are you reacting to that as a teammate? What are your thoughts about Aaron Rodgers right now?
Well, first of all, naturally gifted. Obviously, he's a Hall of Famer. That's a given, right? Naturally gifted. Is he going to make the position better for the Steelers? Absolutely. Is he going to be the best quarterback they've had since Ben? Absolutely. My question is the dedication, what he's going to have, because he's naturally gifted. He's going to wake out of bed when he's 60, and he's going to be able to throw the ball 50 yards down the field to whoever he wants to. I mean, he's just naturally gifted like that. So my question for Aaron is that if Aaron buys all in, he's going to make the Steelers a better football team. And then, listen, I work for the Ravens. I've been calling the Ravens games for the last 3 years, and those games have been tough physical games every single time they play each other. And that's going to he'll make the games even tougher on the Ravens, because I think the Ravens are the best team in the AFC North by far. But I think Aaron Rodgers helps Pittsburgh because he solidifies that position that they've been looking for since Ben has retired.
Mm-hmm. So you feel confident in him? Do you feel better about his leadership role, the way he handled yesterday, the way he is there on day one?
Well, doing it in practice and doing it in the games are two different things.
Got it.
So, under the distress of everything happening, how do you react? Now, the one thing I will say about Pittsburgh, a little bit different than probably other places he's been, is that they do have a standard is the standard. That's their motto. And I know Mike Tomlin will try to uphold his leaders to be in that type of person. So hopefully if Aaron Rodgers if he comes in and if he's that same leader that he was in his presser, then they got the best version of him. And they will be extremely tough team to play week in and week out, because Aaron Rodgers can throw the football. And he has some good receivers, got a good running game, got a solid offensive line. And we know how good their defense is year in, year out. So I think he makes them a more dangerous football team than they had in the previous years.
Do you think he still has it? I think that's a question I hate because I thought he had it at the end of last year. Now he's a year off the injury. Him to DK could be a beautiful, hypothetically, a beautiful deep shot connection. It really could be the best in the league, I think.
It could be. I mean, DK is a massive human being.
Amazing.
And trying to cover somebody like that. But listen, Aaron Rodgers is just so naturally gifted. And he's able to throw the football even when he couldn't run. So now you're 2 years removed from the injury. And normally what you say, 2 years removed, and I know he's a year older, but 2 years removed from the injury, he is going to be a better player.
Yes.
Because he's not going to be worrying about his Achilles.
Yeah.
He's going to go play. And he played on it already. So he trusted. He has a strong arm. He can throw the ball from a normal throw, a sidearm throw, underneath throw. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a gifted athlete. And if he plays the way he's capable of playing, let's say he's 70% of what he used to be.
Right.
Well, heck, that's better than 95% of all the quarterbacks in the National Football League in the history of the game.
But Rod, that 30% is probably mobility, which is a huge part of his game, right? Like that's like the question, right? Like he used to move around a lot. Will he do that? But you're saying he won't be worried about his Achilles. I made this point. When you come off an injury, Tom Brady after coming off an injury, it wasn't the same year, the year after he was the MVP. Same thing with Peyton Manning with an injury, although it wasn't a lower extremity injury. I think, the questions are, I hear you clearly on what the questions are with Aaron. They're not about his gameplay or what he's capable of.
They're not. They're not.
Understood.
I truly believe he's going to make them a better football player or a better football team just for the fact that he can throw the football. Listen, he's seen it. He can throw it. He believes in his arm. They have the best quarterback since Ben is retired with the Steelers. Yeah. And that makes them a better football team from the get-go.
I want to take a break, but not until I ask you about TJ Watt, and then we'll move on to something else at the other during that break. And on the other side, we are live on YouTube, Rod, so you were live this entire time. This TJ Watt thing, I didn't think it was going to be a story. The mini camp, there's rumors swirling. Should TJ get a bigger deal than Myles Garrett?
Yes.
Okay.
I can say, I don't know, bigger deal. I mean, listen, when you're making $30 million a year, gosh, I wish that was like my whole career in 1 year for those guys. The one thing I say about the Steelers normally, when you have an existing contract, they normally don't tear it up and redo another contract for you. But what I would say to the Steelers is that times are changing. And when you have a guy like TJ Watt, you want to keep him happy because it's not only is he a leader on the field and off the field, but you're showing the rest of the players in the locker room how you treat your best players, and especially in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's one of the best players to play at that position in the history of the Steelers, of the black and gold. So I think you do something a little bit different. I think normally, like I said, they normally don't tear those contracts up and redo them. But I think you should really hardly think about it. He should be one of the highest paid players at his position, if not the highest paid players at the position outside of the quarterback. When he's not there, they don't look like the same football team.
Well said. Love that. We're going to take a short break here. We are with the legend, Rod Woodson, reliving the glory days. I love everything you're saying. I love that you're saying they pass more and still nobody has more touchdowns or interceptions. I love that you're saying, the good old days of getting to put your hands on people. I could just talk to you all day. It's so fun. It is so fun. And it's, and just the contracts at $30 million a year. Can you imagine? That's so crazy.
Not only that, heck, in college you can make money nowadays. Heck. Yeah,
I know. Wrong time, but I wouldn't have had it any other way. You're such a legend. It's amazing. I wanted to ask you, the Ravens, who you are mentioning here, we got to get to them. I would just love to see this. Who has a stronger unit if we're going to compare these? I'm looking for a bite from you, Rod, here. Fall into my trap here. Pittsburgh versus Baltimore, the secondaries. Let's take a look.
The secondary. Well,
secondary.
That's a tough one because I think Nate Wiggins and Joey Porter, they're very similar. I think Nate is a little twitchier. Joey Porter Jr. is probably bigger, longer. I think they're both going to be really good players. I mean, obviously, we got to see how Stark's going to play. Unfortunately, Darius Washington for the Ravens got injured. I'm thinking Marlon Humphreys is an outstanding player. I mean, both sides of the ball for them, for the Steelers and the Ravens. I think the depth.
This is hard for you.
And I think the depth wise, I think the Ravens secondary is probably a little bit deeper if Darius Washington was healthy. Because Darius Washington played lights out last year. And one of the main reasons they were one of the best after the bye week, they're the number one defense in the National Football League because Darius Washington was inserted into the starting lineup. And they moved Hamilton around a little bit and put Humphreys back into the nickel. So they did everything they were supposed to do. Now, my question is, I don't know how good Starks is going to be. You just never know how good a player is going to be when he gets into the league. Darius Washington played lights out football for him, and he made multiple big plays in big games. Yeah. So since he's injured, Starks more than likely is going to be in that starting lineup. Does he make those same type of plays as a rookie? That's
who is the better secondary, Rod? Make a choice.
I'm thinking the better secondary overall is the Ravens.
Okay, got it.
Just for the fact is, I think Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphreys, right there are two solid positions that they can play at. And then you move Marlon at the nickel. I think they have the best overall secondary depth-wise than Steelers.
Love that. I love that. And Wiggins, nobody sleep on him. Great rookie year of coverage.
I really like it.
We only have 30 seconds left with Rod Woodson. Quick Travis Hunter question for you. I know you prefer him at corner. I've seen that. He has better odds to win Offensive Rookie of the Year. Does that mean he'll be more successful at receiver? What do you think?
I would put him at corner because it's hard to find a shutdown corner. It's really hard to find a shutdown corner. When you find it's easier to find receivers that can go out and catch the ball, make plays and get touchdowns, but to find a shutdown corner that can play 10 to 12 years, shutting the opposing best team players down, it's hard to find.
Love that. Rod Woodson, you were an absolute pleasure. Hope Through Football Camp back for another year, July 8th and 9th at Northrop High School in your hometown of Fort Wayne, Indiana. You're providing lunch for people. Please register at hopethroughfootball.org. Thank you, Rod.
I appreciate it. We didn't talk about our trip to Ireland, though.
We're going. I want to be there. I want to hear about it. We'll talk soon, okay? We have to have you back. You're unbelievable. Thank you.
All right. I appreciate it.